dispose their waste once a day.
Excuse me, Mokolo. Can you,
25%
Mokolo?
dispose
Excuse me,
it once
Mokolo.
in 2 days,
Excuse
and
me, Mokolo.
44.3 dispose once in a week.
Makolo.
Also, 20% dispose their waste in the public bin.
He's in the wrong room.
30% inside the valley. They dispose their waste inside the valley. There's a valley there. 9% of the roadside by the roadside, and 43% on an open space. 15% disposed by burning, all ending up in drains.
Do you have a slide, Mokolo?
Every waste ends up in the drains.
Do you mind if I test mine now? I mean, just.
Yes, yeah. Go ahead, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Sunil.
Yeah.
Please go ahead with the session.
All right. So the secretariat, I won't wait for the secretariat. I just start.
For us to quickly see what we are talking about. From this.
Sadan?
Yeah.
Can I? So you want me to start now?
Just 1 minute.
Sure.
You give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Yeah, Sunil, now
Yeah.
this is okay. So you can start the meeting.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to the special session on small island nations, and I apologize for the small delay until we sorted out the technical issues, which is pretty common in this type of meetings. So as I mentioned, this is a very special session because the UN DESA has defined uh, 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 50 the countries, small island nations. We call it small island developing states, SIDS. 52 of them are listed currently, and mostly in the Pacific and in the Caribbean, and in some in South China, Atlantic Ocean, and the Indian Ocean as well. So today we have 7 presenters, mainly coming from the Pacific Islands, and they'll be talking about their experiences during this session. So just to give you a very quick introduction to the Pacific Islands, as you know, when it comes to waste management, uh, they have a very unique, challenging situations compared to any other countries. Mainly because, as you know, the spread of those islands, the population, the economies of scale, and also, if you take these countries, they have many islands, small islands as well, the out islands, and also the level, the sea level, where it is very difficult to construct landfills and so on. So you'll hear about all these issues during the presentation. So what I would like to do now is to invite our first speaker. Our first speaker is Miss Mayu Nomura. She's a JICA. The JICA, as you know, everyone knows this, a Japanese International Cooperation Agency. JICA, a J-Prism expert. Now, if you are not familiar, the J-Prism is defined as the Japanese Technical Cooperation Project for promotion of regional initiatives on solid waste management in Pacific Island countries. So JICA is doing a lot of work in the Pacific Island countries through this JPISM program. And Mayu is will be an expert who can talk quite a bit about her experiences in the region. So Mayu, your floor is yours now. So you can share your screen.
I don't know. You have to be host. Yes. Oh. Okay.
I'm facing an issue. Can't share my presentation now.
So you got the so you have opened the presentations in your computer? Is it already
Yes,
open?
I have opened.
Uh-huh.
Yes, already
And
opened.
then there is a square button
I'm
at the bottom.
clicking. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Your internet is working.
Somehow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The instruction showed up, but I cannot click the share button on the screen.
Hang on. Sadan, you know, the presenters are allowed the shared screen. I think they may need permission from you. You're on mute. I checked with the organizers. I think sometimes you need permission because you can't click on that box, isn't it? Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah. So then you need permission. Sadan, you're there? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay. Yeah, please.
So I think we need permission from you to share the screen.
Okay.
Because Mayu can't share the screen. You know, she can't click on the link.
But it's not like that.
All right.
We check once again.
Uh-huh.
So, Mayu, you are not able to share your screen?
Let me try again.
Okay. Can you do one thing? Yeah, you try it. You try it. Because there is no need for permission. Yeah, do it once again.
Okay. Still cannot.
Okay. So, Sunil, what we can do is let us go to the next speaker. Meantime, Mayu will send her presentation to my email so that our secretariat can launch it here and she can speak.
Yeah, I have it with me. Can I
Just
try myself?
Meantime, Nomura, you can send to my email. I'm just.
I'll try opening from my end.
Yeah.
Just give me a sec.
Nomura, just send it to this email also. Your PPT. I wrote in the chat box.
Okay, I will send my presentation to you.
Yeah. And meantime, Sunil will try.
Just give me 1 minute. I'll
Please
try again.
Try it, yeah.
So I'll just open the PowerPoint. Yeah. And
Nomura, could you send it?
now it will share.
Uploading it.
Can you see all?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Can you see?
Yeah. We can see this.
Yeah.
So Mayu, when you want to change the slide, let me know.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you very
So
much.
Yeah. Okay. Now
Okay.
keep going.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present. My name is Mayu Nomura. I'm a JICA expert on solid waste management and working for the JPRISM, which is a technical cooperation in waste management in the Pacific Island countries. So today I'm going to talk about the container deposit scheme in the Pacific Island countries with focus of their system comparison, as well as a policymaker's guide, which is under development by JPRISM. Yeah, next, please. So my presentation consists of 3 parts. So let me start with the basics of the container deposit scheme. Next, please. So at the very beginning, let me quickly introduce the project I work for. So JPRISM is a Japanese technical cooperation project for promotion of regional initiative on solid waste management in the Pacific Island countries. And we started working from 2011 with the 11 countries after several projects by JICA, and has continued assistance with 9 countries now. So activities vary depending on the strategic area and priorities of each country, but our overall goal is technical capacity enhancement of the waste management officers in the Pacific Island countries. Okay, next, please. So what is the deposit scheme in the first place? So deposit scheme is one of the economic instruments in waste management. So a tool to recover the end-of-use products. So it can be found worldwide in Europe, United States, and also small island states, including the Pacific Island countries. So this scheme creates the system in the society to recover the end-of-use products that are paid the deposit at the first place. So the deposit is paid at the local manufacturing or at the import of the products. Then a refund is paid when the end-of-use products are returned in a designated manner by consumers. So refund creates an incentive for people to bring back the items. So this scheme is very effective to minimize public littering and promote proper waste disposal and recycling. So in many Pacific Island cases, and also a handling fee is built in the deposit amount, which can be used for running the system. So for this reason, the deposit scheme is considered as a sustainable financing scheme. Yes, next, please. I will also give you a snapshot of economic instruments in solid waste management in the Pacific Island countries. So as you can see in the slide, for example, charging fee for waste collection or final disposal is very common policy measures to motivate people to reduce the waste discharging from their activity. And also tipping fee at the landfill is applied where the weighing by truck scale is available, such as Samoa, Fiji, or Tonga. And also a levy on importation of certain plastic products or activities by visitors are also seen in the region. And the deposit scheme is in operation in RMI, Republic of Marshall Islands, and Federated States of Micronesia, Kiribati and Palau, Tuvalu and Palau. Next, please. So first, let me give you an example of the deposit scheme. So this is a Republic of Marshall Islands. Marshall Islands consist of 29 atolls made up of over 1,000 islands, and the population around 58,000. And beverages available in RMI are all imported, except a big water bottle, which is produced by a local small company. But the very high proportion of drinks comes in aluminum cans, and very little beer or spirits or wines in glass bottles. That's the situation of RMI. Next, please. So this is the flow of money and goods. So the deposit scheme is in RMI covers PET bottles and glass bottles and aluminum cans. And 6 cents deposit is paid per item by importers at customs office when products are imported. Then a 6 cents deposit are put into the fund, which is ring fenced. So the fund can only be used for the purpose of CDS, the Deposits Refund Scheme, under the regulation. So the 1 cent handling fee is built in the 6 cent deposit. So 5 cents is paid to the people who brings the containers at the redemption center. So the redemption center and the waste processing and export are run by the contractor. And the obligation of the contractor is negotiated with the government and decided in the MOU. That's the rough explanation of the CDS scheme. So this is the results. So over 15 million containers are recovered. And out of that, 9 million aluminum cans, only aluminum cans were exported overseas recycling market, and which brought 119,000 US dollar as a revenue for the system operator. Other than aluminum cans, crushed glasses are used in internal pavement of the landfill site, and the PET bottle is of recycling of PET bottle is very limited due to the low market value. So it's stockpiled on the island so far. But the key benefits are collection flow of beverage containers was established, and recycling of aluminum cans was promoted, and public littering was reduced, and contribute to the lifespan of the single landfill site. Next, please. So move on to the comparison of the CDS in the Pacific Island countries. So this might help you to overview the difference in population and picture the industry size of each country. So the countries where the deposit scheme is in place are so far Tuvalu, Palau, FSM, RMI, Kiribati, which are relatively not populous countries amongst other countries. So almost all of the beverage products are imported, not manufactured locally. And Vanuatu, relatively populous among the Pacific Island countries, has recently established a working group and continue discussion in order to start the system. This working group is composed of several local manufacturers, importers, local bottlers, retailers, and recyclers, and led by the government. And intermediate treatment of collected beverage containers can be seen on island, such as crushing or flaking. Repurposing is very limited, so heavily relying on export to, for example, Australia, New Zealand, Asian countries. We might learn this point from other presenters, I believe. The next, please. So the deposit scheme in the Pacific Island countries started in the late 19th in some of the states of FSM. So two states of the FSM operating the scheme, and the other 2 states have been working on the reform of the system with J-PRISM project. For example, of the Pohnpei states, one of the FSM states, they have legislation, but people can access to the redemption only around 8 times per year, which is to be reformed to increase the frequency of the redemption so that we can aiming at the high recovery rate. And the countries recently started CDS or RMI and Tuvalu. This scheme is applied not only beverage containers, but also other waste such as lead acid batteries, cooking oil bottles, and also other waste such as nappies, vehicles, and motorbikes, as you can see in the Tuvalu's case. Next, please. So deposits range from 5 cents to 10 cents in this region, and deposit can be set based on the refunds, which is the main driver for people to bring the items back. And handling fee should depend on how the material collected, treated, and so forth. So it can be changeable, but it should be built in the deposit fee. As you can see, the scheme in Palau is a bit unique in the way that the water deposit sent straight to the fund, and that can be used for outside the scheme. So it looks like a combination of a tax measure and deposit scheme, which is very unique. Next, please. In the end of use product management, looking at the end of the use product management, you will find that the PET bottles is basically stockpiled after processing. And glass can domestically used, like RMI, Hosrai, and Palau. And next, please. I'm showing some pictures of the collected beverage containers. So aluminum cans has a high value in the recycling market, so all exported. But the PET has piled so far. But the glass can be used, as you can see in the slide. Yeah. So this slide shows the result in the recent year of 6 places. Numbers shows the number of redeemed items and redemption rate and the recycling rate. I'm going to touch some highlighted points. So first of all, when you look at the number of items redeemed, we can find the scheme contributed to the significant amount of recovery of beverage containers. When we see the redemption rate, RMI, YAP, and Palau, next slide, the redemption rate hits over 80% in total. Yeah, and coming back to the previous slide, just to clarify the reason why the redemption rate of the RMI, which is over 100, so 199%, this is because this number is from the very beginning, first stage of the system's first stage of this system in the country. So at that time, there were significant amount of undeposited containers littering around the island. So this caused a situation where the number of redeemed items exceed the number of deposited items. So that's why the redemption rate hits over 100%. But this redemption rate got healthier as time goes by. And also when you look at the recycling rate, you can see some blanks. Recycling usually means the amount of exports in the Pacific Island countries. And sometimes the regulatory government doesn't have that data from the recycling company or the contractor. So this can be obtained the contractor or recycler if the government wants to properly monitor the progress of the system. So this is a part of the issue of the monitoring, I think. Yes. So lastly, I'm going to briefly talk about the development of the deposit scheme guide for policymakers. So this slide explains the JPRISM assistance in CDS in the Pacific Island countries. So, and now we work with Chuuk states, Pohnpei states of FSM and Vanuatu for them to start the system. And through the activities under JPRISM 2 over the years, we have encountered the situations where the CDS works very effective. and also does not work well. And it was also seen that the legislations had been there, but the implementation was on hold for many years. So we learned that the success can be realized when feasibility is studied, the system design is thought out, and all the crucial components of the scheme are well put together. And support from industry and the public is there. So with this background, we came up with the idea that we could make the best use of the lessons learned from the activities and compile the this guidebook. Yes, so yeah, next please. So when we introducing improving the CDS in the country, the questions in our mind must be like this. For example, what facilities and infrastructures are needed for processing, recycling, and how much the capital and the running cost will be, what data needs to be collected at the time of import or local production, a redemption, refund claim, processing and exporting. So never ending. But we have to answer these questions when we start the effective scheme. And the guide is trying to provide some guidance on these questions. Next, please. So the guide comprises 3 parts. In the part 1 and 2, the guide offers the guidance on how to, for example, prioritize the target products, how to estimate the generation by material type, how to estimate the potential legacy waste, how to determine the refund rate, deposit rate, and handling fee, and so forth. In the last slide, the part 3 is case studies of existing cases of RMI, Kiribati, Kosrae, Yap, Palau, and Tuvalu. So the part 3 captures profile of each scheme, such as history of CDS development, results, information of local industry and logistics, legal framework, refund, funds and agencies involved, and so on. So in this part, you will find the key success factors and also challenges faced for each cases. So for example, you will find that Kiribati operates satellite redemption centers, several satellite redemption centers, so as to increase the accessibility for public to join the scheme. And Tuvalu case is also unique in a way that they have added the target items in place at first in 2019 and added another items next year. So yeah, that's the case studies you can see in the part 3. But I will leave the further explanation to this publication. And this CDS guide will be published sometimes early next year. And yeah, let me end my presentation for now. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mayu. That was very really exciting presentation. The scheme you're talking about is a unique scheme and also a challenging scheme as well. As you know, even in Australia now we are gaining some momentum in this direction. And the guide you mentioned will be quite useful because it sounds like you have wealth of experience in this area. The last 2 slides it'd be very useful to look at the part 1 and part 2. So congratulations, that's an excellent presentation. So I think we'll leave the questions to the end. So we will go to the next speaker.
Yeah, Sunil,
Sorry. Yeah.
before you go to the next speaker, I must congratulate Mayu for doing wonderful job in the islands. And you know that why we have included this specific islands session this time, because I have been trying to include one special session on small islands, but it was not done. But this time, because of Sunil, we could make it. And I must thank Dr. Sunil Herat also On the other hand, I am very much interested to compile the work which are carried out in different island countries. So we will be announcing very soon a book will be published on the activities, waste management, circular economy, and other areas in mainly the small island countries. And we will definitely come back to all the speakers here and also to those who have not, could not attend this. So we should make it a success with the help of all of you from different island countries. So of course Sunil will communicate this in future in a bigger way with detail. So thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation and I liked it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate the this opportunity to present this guide. I believe this guide is very useful for island countries, not only in the Pacific. And also, I really appreciate the the efforts made by the Pacific Island countries I worked for. We cannot achieve this without their efforts.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to Sunil.
Okay. Actually, I forgot to mention right at the beginning, this session is co-chaired by myself and Professor Ghosh. So we are both doing this session together. So we are both chairpersons. So the next speaker is Patricia Pedris. She's the Deputy Assistant Secretary to the Waste Management and Pollution Control Unit of the Department of Environment, Climate Change and Emergency Management of the National Government of Federation States of Micronesia, which is commonly known as FSM. So, so her presentation is going to be about an overview of waste management in the federal states of Micronesia. So, Patty, we are known you as Patty. So, the platform is yours now to share the screen.
Thank you, Professor Sunil. Let me try to
try.
Can you see it?
Yes, we are just. I think it's coming up now. Yeah, good. So we go to the full screen if it is possible. Sharing slide slow full screen. Otherwise, you can present like that.
Oops, sorry. What did I do?
That's fine. That's fine. You can present like this. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let me see how I can do it. Okay, hold on. Let me just see if I can. Okay.
So if you go to the slideshow on the top, click on the slideshow on the top line, and yeah, so you can see from the current side.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Sunil and Professor Ghosh, for the opportunity to participate in today's meeting. And I also acknowledge Mayu, as she is our regional counterpart. JICA is our regional counterpart, and we've had opportunities where JPRISM has been assisting us. So to begin my presentation, I would like to just say that I'll be presenting on waste management in the FSM, particularly to just provide an overview. So this is my outline. I will begin with an overview of the Federated States of Micronesia as a country, just to provide a description.
Patty, your slide is Did you change the slide? We still see the first slide.
Can you see this now?
No, it's not changing.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Now we can see. Now we can see. Yep. Okay. Good.
Okay. All right. So this is my outline, and I'll be providing an overview of the Federated States of Micronesia as a country in terms of just geographical description, so that you get a feel of what it means to be a small island developing states. And then I'll move on to the emphasis on imports, the fact that as a small island, we rely so much on imports, which is one of the main factors of the accumulation of waste. And then I'll get into the waste systems, describing basically the political and the economic and social factors, and then explaining a little bit about the challenges and successes, and then our current way forward. So, the Federated States of Micronesia, if you had the opportunity to Google, you will get a similar information as what I'm providing you, but this was taken basically from what I have in terms of my research. So it consists of about 607 small islands, about 2,500 miles south of Hawaii, with an approximate population of 107,000. There are high and low islands. The main islands of Pohnpei, Kashuai, and Chuuk are high volcanic islands, and the temperature is usually average in mid 70 to mid 80 degrees. Just to explain a little bit, although there are 607 small islands, the main islands that consist of the Federated States of Micronesia include the states of Yap, Chuuk, Pohnpei, and Kashuai. So there are four main islands that consist of the Federated States of Micronesia. But there are more than, because there are outer islands. Some of these main islands have outer islands and other related islands attached to it. So politically, FSM is made up of four semi-autonomous states. The four main islands, as I just mentioned, of Yap, Chuuk, Pohnpei, and Kashuai have their own executive, legislative, and judiciary branches, and of course they retain autonomy to manage their own domestic affairs. And this is where I'd like to emphasize that when it comes to the national and state governments, the role of the national government is to facilitate the state's efforts, while the state's efforts include implementation of activities. So here again, although the FSM national government and the state governments share the responsibility of managing environmental issues, the state governments are primarily responsible for development planning and natural resource and land management. And this is to be more specific, as I've mentioned, as I tried to distinguish their roles. As I mentioned that I wanted to emphasize the imports situation in relation to the waste systems here in the Federated States of Micronesia. And in order to understand that, we need to know that the FSM's economy is dominated by the public sector employment. And the public sector employment, of course, is our government. And for those of you who are not aware, FSM, the Federated States of Micronesia, has a compact relationship with the United States, in which the United States contributes about $2 billion. And this agreement will last until 2023. And under this agreement, FSM is being supported financially by the United States. And of course, we are allowed, as citizens of FSM, we are allowed to travel freely in the United States without a visa. and we are able to work in the United States and related territories. Other bilateral agreements with European and Asian countries also provide financial and technical assistance. And as I mentioned, that JICA is one of our regional partners, and we also have another regional partner in environment, namely called SPREP, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. We also have international partners. We have our embassies in several countries, so that also places us in a position, a relationship position with other countries. So to emphasize, the nation is largely dependent on import commodities. So much of what we have here in the Federated States of Micronesia is really import commodities, such as canned goods and beverages. And this has led to an increase in plastics, aluminum, glass, and paper. So this is basically, as I place this in bold, I wanted to emphasize that this is really the root of our accumulation of waste in our country, as we rely on imports. If we were to compare our current position to our past position in terms of waste management, people back then didn't really produce a lot of waste because much of what was available was really biodegradable. Whereas today, that is a different situation. Another contributing factor is the fact that, to the accumulation of waste is our lands. So land tenure system and ownership vary by state. Generally, land and marine ownership patterns influence the management and use of land resources. And so when we establish an environment-friendly facility, it can be a challenge because most of the lands here in the Federated States of Micronesia are privately owned. Also, there is a lack of land use plans for landfill purposes and landfill management plans. Although that is beginning to improve a bit in terms of the landfill management plans through the J-PRISM project. And monitoring capacity, supporting funds for operation and maintenance are also contributing factors. Recent legislations of an eminent domain law in some states have granted them power to gain private property for public use in the area of waste management. So there has been an increase in construction of facilities for waste management simply because of this eminent domain law. So to continue with our waste systems, over the years there has been a lot of development in terms of legislation. We do have a lot of legislations. However, we do acknowledge that enforcement seems to be a problem. And as Mayu alluded to the CDL, that there were some CDL systems that were developed. However, there was a lack of implementation, and that can be attributed to the fact that some of the markets are not viable, and of course, the funding mechanism is not very efficient. So under legislation, the guiding policy for sustainable development in the FSM is the Strategic Development Plan. And I forgot to mention, I didn't include the word plan, but it's supposed to be Strategic Development Plan. There are national and state environment protection acts that guide the national and states in their mandates. There are also national and state management strategies. There is a regulation to control movement of hazardous waste. And of course, there are state POPs regulations, EI regulations, and state littering laws. Notice that there are no littering laws at the national government, but we do have the Title 25 or our Environment Protection Act that mandates us to protect our environment. And also because the states implement most of the activities, they have these specified laws and regulations. As I mentioned before, the national and state government roles or responsibilities differ. I mentioned that the national government facilitates state government efforts in waste management. And so in terms of my role, I find myself always coordinating with the states and bringing them together and bringing the information that we receive from the outside to them. And also we act as the gateway to the international realm between us and the states. The state government implement waste management activities. At the state level, there is a regulatory agency and one agency responsible for delivering the waste management services. And I can give you an example. So the regulatory agency is usually the EPAs, and the agency responsible for delivering the waste management services include the public works or transportation and infrastructure, or they normally contract a private waste management company to carry out the collection and disposal services. In practice, the state governments regulate waste management, whereas the FSM Constitution mandates the national government to provide primary regulatory oversight, especially for toxic substances. And at this point, I'd like to also include the national government's role in with the multilateral environment agreements. So at the national level, we do implement the related MEAs such as the Basel, Stockholm, and Waigani Convention and the Nomea Convention.
ಫೋನ್ ಹಾಕೋಬೇಕು ಸರಿ ಹೋಯ್ತು.
Generally, DECAM, or the department that I work for, coordinates with its state's counterparts, namely the Environmental Protection Agencies, CRMA, and the Transportation and Infrastructure Divisions and our Public Works, as I just provided the example. And here we have the regional and international partners assist in the strengthening of waste management systems. And this can also be through our relationship with the relevant international and regional conventions. So, what are the challenges in FSM? As we know it under the waste management, some of the challenges include littering citations are very weak. And we've been able to make attempts to try and address this, as we see that littering is prevalent. In some states it is, in some other states it is not, because of how it is managed. But there's because we live on small islands, there's a tendency to rely on each other, and that tendency sometimes gets out of hand, and people don't actually follow through on carrying that out. Another big challenge is the infrastructure system is limited, and by this I mean that when it comes to waste management, especially in relation to managing and preventing waste, there is a need for equipment, or there is a need for a whole system such as a recycling plant. I'll give you an example. We are currently working on addressing junk car removal, and although it is it is important to suggest that we consider a shredder, um, that is actually not enough. We need a whole system, a whole a recycling plant to actually minimize and prevent the generation of that type of waste. A car shredder will only shred the car, but will not recover the parts that are being shredded and the parts that are being segregated and so forth. So and that's an example of an infrastructure system that is needed, a system, like a recycling plant, instead of just one item of a whole system. And of course, this is not new. In looking at how small our islands are, and comparing it to, for example, Japan, where it has a big facility, to segregate and compress and deal with the waste. We only have small space to accommodate a very limited waste management system. And so I think I pretty much covered the fact that FSM, these islands are very small, and therefore the land space is very limited. And then we also have capacity building issues. There is still a need to attract people to consider a, a profession in waste management. We see that most of our waste management personnel actually work behind the desk or do research, and there is very limited personnel out there actually assessing and also dealing with the equipment, and perhaps trying to develop an infrastructure system where needed. And every year we also see that relevant waste management personnel, relocate after 2 years with their jobs. They finish and then they move on. So, the stability. Although there has been a lot of trainings, we've had trainings conducted through SPREP and JICA, and many of the relevant personnel have participated, and they participated. They pretty much learned through those trainings, but then they relocate after a while. So that's one challenge that we find ourselves with. And then, of course, funding. This is, although we try to encourage the 3 Rs and find ways to deal with waste management issues without funding, there is still that the need to request for more funding. And I think it's because as our societies, as our islands become more sophisticated, we would need more advanced systems to help us address the more complicated waste. So I guess that's why we would need the funding. In terms of the successes, I decided to just break it down into 5 components. If we look at policy, we can say that waste management strategies at the state level is complete. We're currently trying to revise and finalize the national waste management strategy. The 3 Rs has been the 3 Rs campaign has been ongoing. It was established in schools and communities. And we also see a lot of plastic repurposing activities progressing, and there are more environmental clubs being established at the school level. So we see that there is actually an increase of interest at the school and the community level in regards to 3Rs campaign. In terms of the landfill management, over the years we've had some success in adopting the Fukuoka method, and currently 3 out of the 4 states have adopted this method. This is Japanese method, and this was mainly done through the J-Prism project. And the 3 are the 4 main states continue to manage their landfills according to these method requirements. In terms of collection and disposal, the government and non-government collection and disposal systems continue to play an important role in disposal of business and residential waste. And I might want to add that through the 3Rs program, the schools and the communities also have contributed to this role of proper disposal. And in terms of recycling, as Mayu just explained or informed us that there are container deposit legislation systems in 3 out of the 4 main states. I didn't include the other one, that the other state that is currently trying to revive its CDL. But we do have Yap, Pohnpei, and Kashui operating a container deposit legislation system. And with this, in regards to this, the 3Rs campaign is utilized, and it serves as a basis for waste management activities. So our current way forward is really to strengthen national and state coordination so that we can include all the relevant stakeholders. We can include everybody to participate in the waste management objectives. And we would want to further address infrastructure system issues, especially for those more complicated wastes. And as I mentioned, one of the complicated types of waste that we are trying to address is end-of-life vehicles, and of course hazardous waste. And then, of course, to address this important issue, as we also have joined the international community to try and address our plastic management issues and join in the fight for a global instrument for on plastic management, plastic waste management. So that is what I have for all of you today. I hope that I have shared some useful information for you, but this is really just capturing an overview of the waste management systems throughout the Federated States of Micronesia. So having said this, thank you, and thank you to the host, and thank you, Professor Sunil, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Patty. That was excellent. I think it gives a very good overview of what's happening in the islands, typical of what's happening in the other islands as well. The challenges you are facing, the unique challenges, and then the expectations of how to move forward and so on. So Thank you very much. I think that was very good. So we can see whether there are any questions at the end. Um, while you are listening, I have been also trying to get in touch with our next speaker. He's from Papua New Guinea, and unfortunately, there are some issues with the internet. So the presentation was to be from Walter Aculia. He's the Senior Waste Management Officer of Landfilling, and his presentation was. I saw his presentation. It was excellently done on how they have rectified the landfill issue in Papua New Guinea. As you know, when you look at the Pacific Islands, the Papua New Guinea and the Fiji are the two big islands, if I'm right, Patty and Mayu. So they have a major
Yeah, Papua New Guinea.
major problems with the waste management. So I guess these presentations will be available to you to later to look at. So I will include Walter's presentation in that recordings. So we'll move on to the next speaker. The next speaker is going to be Miss Wendy Polo Betty. And Wendy is she's studying with me at the moment at the Griffith University, doing a master's program. I have to say she's doing pretty well. She's scoring high distinctions in all my waste management courses. And she's taken leave from the department from the Solomon Islands which she has got a scholarship from the Australian government to study the master's course. So she's going to present on the waste management situation in Solomon Islands. Wendy, you're there? I saw your name, so you should be there.
Yeah, she's here, Betty.
Yeah.
Wendy,
Yeah.
Betty, she's here.
Yeah.
There is an
Wendy,
announcement from
Can you guys?
Yeah,
sorry,
Can you guys hear me?
Sadan, sorry, you're
Please,
saying
please.
something?
Yeah. And I was telling that the Secretariat has posted one message in the chat box that please send your feedback for certificate through this link. So everybody is requested to send their feedback in this link. In the chat box, it is written. You can
Okay.
just So over to Betty.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep. So you can share the screen.
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen now.
Please.
Hello, Dr. Singh.
Can you see my screen now?
Not yet, not yet. So you have already opened the presentation in your computer?
Yes, I've already opened my presentation. I hope it's showing up now.
No.
It will come possibly.
Yeah.
It will take some time, maybe.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's
slowly.
coming. So,
Good. Okay. Keep going.
Can you see my first slide?
Yeah. First slide I can see. Yeah.
Okay, I can't see you guys, but I can only see my screen.
That's
Is
fine.
it okay
Yeah. Yeah.
for me to start?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Sunil and Professor Ghosh, for inviting us to present and share with you an overview of solid waste management from where I come from in the Solomon Islands. As introduced earlier by Professor Sunil, my name is Wendy Betty. I'm currently a master's student at Griffith University, and currently I'm waiting for my flight to return back to the Solomons. And as he already mentioned, I was a senior environment officer for the Ministry of Environment, and currently I'm here in Australia for studies and have now completed my studies and ready to go back to Solomon Islands. Just to give you an overview of my presentation today, I'll share with you just for some of you who don't know where Solomon Islands are in the world map. I'll just give an overview of where Solomon Islands is located, what is our current waste situation back in the Solomons, what are the
Wendy,
challenges.
Wendy, you are
Yes,
changing the slides, are you? We
no,
are on the first
is
slide
it
still.
changing? Yeah, I'm still on the first slide.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
And sorry. So I'll also talk about the challenges, the opportunities, and some of the lessons learned for improving waste management, solid waste management in the Solomon Islands. So just to give you an overview of Solomon Islands, where Solomon Island is located. Solomon Islands, as you know, is a small island developing country located in the Pacific Ocean, southwest of the Pacific Ocean. So it's located close to Papua New Guinea and Australia, Vanuatu, and Fiji. And it's one of the Melanesian countries in the Pacific. The country has a approximate population of more than 500,000 people, and the population is geographically dispersed across 5 major islands and some low-lying atolls. It has a total of 998 islands. Most of the islands are volcanic, mountainous islands, and a few of them are low-lying atolls. The country has a two-tier economic system, which is the formal and informal economic system. Most of the products that are exported out of the country includes fish, copra, cocoa, timber, and palm oil. And most of the products that are imported into the country from most of the country's trading partners includes processed food, manufactured products, and other items. Only a few manufactured products are produced in the country. The country is a former British colony, and therefore, after its independence in 1978, it has adopted the democratic system of governance. So it consists of 50 constituencies, under which it is divided into 10 major provincial governments in the country. So what's moving on? So what is the current state of solid waste management in the Solomon Islands? As you have heard from FSM, Solomon Islands, like other Pacific Island countries, is faced with the challenges of managing solid waste in the country. So over the years, the government is trying to address and manage solid waste. And because of that, the government see the importance of the need to manage solid waste. And therefore, the government, through the Ministry of Environment, including other local government, NGOs, and private sectors, have come together and developed a comprehensive national waste management and pollution control strategy, which is a 10-year plan, 10-year waste management policy that will assist the government through the local and national authorities and private sectors to address the issue of waste and pollution control in Solomon Islands. And one of the outputs that I would like to, one of the outcomes that I would like to share as a result of this strategy was the establishment of a Solomon Islands Waste Management and Recycling Association. And this association, it comprises mostly of private sector companies and individuals, and this is supported by the Solomon Islands government, the J-PRISM project, and the JICA, as well as SPREP. And this association was formally established in 2020. In terms of legal instruments, Solomon Islands has a broad national legislation, which is the Environment Act 1998, and there is also an Environment Regulation 2008. Unfortunately, the Solomon Islands doesn't have any specific legislation that focuses on waste management, but this is captured under this overall Environment Act. But there are some provincial governments that have their ordinance for littering. Between 2000 and 2019, as a result of the Solomon Islands government partnership with regional and international partners such as JICA, SPREP, CEPHAS, there are a number of waste surveys and data collection studies that have been undertaken, and based on these studies, it shows that the average waste generation rate in the Solomon Islands overall is between 0.8 to 1 kilogram per person per day, and the average waste disposal rate is approximately 0.3 kilograms per person per day. In terms of recycling in the Solomons, for Honiara itself, the recycling material recovery rate is about 7.2%, and for on-site recycling of organic waste is about 5.4%. And this data is only available for Honiara City, which is the capital of the country, and and most of Honiara is the central hub for most recycling export. So whatever recycling activities, it's exported out from the Honiara International Port to regional traders. Moving on now to challenges and issues related to solid waste management in Solomon Islands. Some of the major challenges and issues with regards to managing solid waste in the urban and the provincial centers outside of the capital includes one of the major one includes the lack of proper disposal site for solid waste management. As alluded to by my colleague from FSM, land is limited and scarce in the country. So most Honiara and 3 other provincial centers, they have managed to secure land for proper waste disposal. Unlike the other provincial centers in the country, they only have an open dump without a proper landfill operation in their respective islands. And the other challenges that is faced, especially with promoting recycling in the country, is the tax placed on export of recyclables. And also there is a lack of finance for collection of legacy recyclable materials, and that there is a poor existing recycling infrastructure, and there is lack of capacity when it comes to recycling in the country. And another thing in relation to recycling, promoting recycling in the country, is that since most of the population widely dispersed in the islands around the capital, there is a high inter-island shipping cost, and that is a major issue when it comes to encouraging people to ship the recyclables from the islands outside of the capital to the capital, where most of the recyclables are stored in both from the recycling companies and shipped overseas. Another major issue faced with regards to managing waste, solid waste in the country, is the waste collection service. For the capital itself, there is I will say it's not that adequate, but there is a good waste collection service or coverage that is provided for the residents in the capital. Unlike other provincial centers, there is no waste collection service, or there is inadequate waste collection service provided for the residents in those provincial centers outside of the capital of Solomon Islands. And another issue which I would also like to highlight is the enforcement of legislation. For example, some of the provincial governments in the country, they have the litter ordinance, but there is a lack of enforcement of the legislation or the ordinance, and so people do not abide by the existing legislation, and therefore they practice littering in public areas and so forth. And another issue which I would also like to highlight is that apart from solid waste, Solomon Islands is also faced with other emerging waste issues, including e-waste, hazardous waste, and healthcare waste, amongst others. As I mentioned earlier, most items are imported from overseas into the country, and the issue is there is no proper system in place for managing electronic products, and this generates a lot of e-waste that is left unmanaged around in the country. Moving on to opportunities for enhancement of solid waste in the Solomon Islands. One of the opportunities that can be seen when it comes to managing solid waste management in the country is government supporting the private sector through partnership. This is an opportunity where through such partnership, the government can assist the private sectors who have the willingness and have the facilities and the infrastructure to help the government in addressing some of the waste issues. As you can see, the photo on your right, this is the president of the Solomon Islands Waste Management and Recycling Association in the Solomon Islands, and he's trying to collect waste plastic PET bottles. Waste PET bottles, and he has a machine to turn the waste PET into reusable educational items, and through such partnership, if the government can support his business, and this could be one solution to addressing the plastic waste in Honiara, and maybe in the future other provincial centers in the country. Another opportunity that that can help to improve waste, so addressing solid waste in the Solomon Islands, is through supporting active women's groups that are helping to engage in reusing waste into creative crafts and items that are sold in the communities. And one example of active women's group in the country that I would like to highlight here is called, they call themselves the Plastic Wise Group, and they have been really active in one of the provinces in the country, and they've created creative crafts from plastic bags and other waste materials, and they have helped to advocate and educate other women in the communities in terms of minimizing waste. And this helps the local governments in the initiatives to educate the population. Another opportunity for managing waste, solid waste, in the Solomon Islands is training of local waste practitioners to become waste experts in the different provinces in the country. We have a lot of people from the national and local governments that have been trained under JICA, SPREP, and also AFD, which Professor Sunil was also one of the facilitators who conducted the training in the past. And this could help, and through such trainings, other waste practitioners in other government, provincial governments would be able to gain the knowledge and skills to help in addressing waste in the various organizations and the provincial governments in the country. And finally, another opportunity that could help to improve solid waste in the country and to help address the waste issues in the country is for the government to ratify the Basel Convention. And at the moment, the Solomon Islands have not ratified this convention, and therefore export of recyclable items are restricted. Export of hazardous recyclable items are restricted to be exported within the Pacific and not outside of the Pacific. So what are some of the important lessons learned in terms of waste management in the Solomon Islands? Is the need for more collaboration between the government and private sectors, because the government cannot address solid waste by itself, but it needs the support of the private sectors in addressing and managing the solid waste in the country. Another lesson learned is for continuous education and awareness across all sectors and across all levels in the country. And another important lesson learned from the many waste management projects that have been implemented over the past years is the need for financial mechanism or economic instrument to support waste operations in the country. As alluded by Ms. Maya, the Solomon Islands government have also looked towards introducing such system as the container deposit system, which would help in supporting the local government and even the private sectors involved in the recycling system in the country. And also one of the things I would also want to highlight here is Solomon Islands is a small island developing country, and we can't adopt approaches from other developed countries, but we have to look at adopting local measures that are appropriate and suitable for the local context in the country. And in conclusion, Solomon Islands, like other Pacific Island countries, has a long way ahead to improving its solid waste management system. Waste management cannot be addressed um, by the government in itself, but it has to be addressed through a holistic and through a multi-stakeholder integrated approach. And this has to start within individuals, and then the community, and then the society, and then throughout the country as a whole. With that, I conclude my presentation, and I thank you all for listening. Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor
Wendy.
Sunil.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Okay, now that was an excellent presentation. Again, a demonstration about the uniqueness of unique challenges facing the islands, Pacific Island countries. One thing I noted in that presentation was that you emphasized the creation of the champions. This is one of the things I really had the passion when I did the training. He mentioned I did 3 years training in the Pacific Islands program, and one of the things I really wanted to happen was to can you please mute the other if you're not speaking? Thank you. So the main message I was trying to give was that unless you have this champion driving the agenda, it is going to be very difficult, especially in an island situation. You need to have that person who is very very passionate and very having really drive the agenda. So so thank you very much for that presentation. So our next presentation is going
Thank
to
you so
be
much, Sunil.
thank you. Next presentation is going to be from Fiji, and it will be presented by Miss Nafiza Ali. She's the acting senior assistant health inspector for the Nadi Town Council, and Nafisa, she was in that program as well. So nice to see you again. She's going to talk about some exciting things which is happening in that council related to educating in the waste management. So Nafisa, floor is yours. You can share the screen.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. A very good morning to you all. It's indeed a pleasure for me to present to you this morning on managing of solid waste in the schools in Nadi in Fiji. This will be the outline of my presentation today.
Nafisa, we can't see your screen yet. Did you share it?
Yes.
Try again. It takes a bit of time sometimes. First, you have to open your presentation in your computer and then share it.
Dr. Sunil, I'm trying. Yeah.
Just give me give a minute or so. Sometimes it takes time. Otherwise, I can help you from my end here. I'll try and help you. So see, can't guarantee. So when you click the button there down the screen, the square button, does it allow you to click that button?
It did. Yeah, I did.
then what happens after
Share
that?
your entire screen. It doesn't.
So just share the other one. Click the other one, not the entire screen. The window. There's a thing called click the window.
Yeah. Share. It's not happening. It's not happening, Dr. Sunil.
Not happening.
Yeah.
S-
Share the one that I sent you.
Right. All right. So what I'll do is I'll try to open, because you mentioned that you had a revised version. I didn't get. Now it is going. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sharing now. Good.
Okay. All right.
Now go to the full screen if possible.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, this would be the outline of my presentation. And just a brief background about Fiji. A significant amount of waste is generated every day in Fiji. And according to the waste composition studies conducted in 2008, the household waste generation rate is 0.4 kg per day. So this comprises nearly 60% organic waste, followed by approximately 12% plastic and over 11% paper. That means around 23% of recyclable waste. And Naini Town Council does not have any disposal site, so all our garbage is carted to another town, and that's done at a considerable cost, transportation and tipping fees.
Ma'am, your slides are not moving.
Yeah.
Accounts.
Nafisa, the slide. Just try to change the slide.
I did.
It's not moving. Did you go to the slideshow from the beginning? Did you click on that button?
Yes, I did.
It's not working, eh? So
I'm trying to shift to another slide.
So you have another file?
Yeah, can see now.
No, this is the same presentation we can see.
Is it okay, Dr. Sunil, if you share from there? So
I'll try, yeah.
Because I'm trying from here, I can move to another slide.
Yeah. So then stop sharing. I'll try to share my screen. So you need to stop sharing.
Okay.
I'm also mindful of the time, so we'll see. Nafisa. Just give me half a minute until I sort this out. Share the screen window. So now you will see. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
So Nafisa, we are running short of time. We had some issues, technical issues. So we have your presentation is about we can have about 12 minutes presentation, maybe 15 minutes.
Okay.
So maybe you can highlight the important points. Some of the slides you can skip because they'll get a copy of this presentation anyway, right? So keep going now. So when you're ready, just tell me to change the slide.
Yeah, change the slide, please. Change. Next one. Next slide, please.
Okay,
Yeah, next slide, please.
keep going.
In fact, I cannot see the change here.
Sir, the slides are not moving.
The slides are not moving. Yeah.
So not in your screen as well. In my screen,
Yeah.
it's moving. Why is that? I think some problem. Hang on, I'll just try the other one. This Google Meet can be a problem. Now you can see the screen now.
Yes, I can. Please can.
So you go to the top again.
Yeah, just.
Now the slides are changing.
Yep. Yeah, I can see
Okay.
the changes now. Yeah. So
So-
can we go to background?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, just on the background. Yes, because of the high amount of the cost that was incurred for the solid waste management, there was an urgent need to manage the waste properly. Hence, in 2009, in cooperation with JICA, the Nandi and Lautoka City Council embarked on waste minimization and recycling promotion project in Fiji. Next slide. And based on this project, there were two core activities of this project were home composting and separate collection of recyclables. And as I highlighted before, almost 60% of the waste that is generated is organic waste. So we found that there is a need for us to treat the organic waste. Hence, effective method was home composting. And in order to treat the organic waste, council embarked on home composting, and here we tried to promote separation of organic waste at household level. So we encouraged our residents to buy the compost bin and do composting at home. And these bins are sold at a subsidized price of $30 here at the council office. Next slide. So that's just showing the process of how the composting is done at household level. And we also do regular monitoring of the bins. Next slide. Separate collection of recyclables. This is another successful activity that is implemented by the council. And here we encourage residents to separate recyclable waste at source. So that means from household, businesses, and schools. And in our situation here in Nandi, we try to encourage the residents to separate the recyclable waste and from individual households and discharge it at the road curb, and it's collected every fortnight by the council. Next slide. Next slide. So that's the process that's actually shown as to how the council carries out the separation of recyclable waste. So the residents discharge the waste at the curbside, and then it's collected by the council truck. And then you can see in the middle picture, there are two trucks. One is the green truck, that's for the garbage truck, the garbage collection, and the white truck is for the recyclable collection. And the far picture right down, it's the recycling storage center. So from the storage center, the recyclables are taken by the recycling company. Clean Schools program. So in order for us to enhance this activity at household level, we tried to introduce the same concept in our schools. And this was done under Clean Schools program. And in 2010, we introduced and pioneered this program with 11 schools, 8 primary schools, and 3 secondary schools. So in 2009, the current and the existing situation of the schools were determined by conducting a survey, where we found out that most of the schools did not have a proper waste management system in place. And there were practice of burning, littering, and no separation or segregation of waste. Hence, we thought of implementing this program at school level. And we developed the guidebook. Based on the guidebook, we asked the schools to implement the activities. So this Clean Schools program comes in 3 components. Component 1 is environmental awareness raising. 2 is on school composting. Component 3 is waste separation and recycling. Another slide. And the main aim of this program was to introduce a 3R-centric system in school, giving opportunities for schools to start with proper waste management and targeting children in creating awareness, creating waste minimization in communities and household level. Next slide. Some of the solid waste management strategies that were used. So we tried to had several meetings with Ministry of Education and the PS Education, pointing out the need to incorporate this 3R concept of waste management in school curriculum. This was to sensitize the younger generation about managing solid waste. Next slide. And the schools were encouraged to form students group, and they formed a 3R committee, they formed environment committees in schools. Massive awareness was done to the students and teachers in all the schools. School-based activities were also carried out. Examples, poem, games, quiz, gardening involving children in segregation activities, etc. And then awareness was also done at community level involving the parents so that they actually know what is happening in their schools. And some of the administrative tools, contact with various stakeholders. In case of Nandi, our key stakeholder was Ministry of Education. So we needed to work together with Ministry of Education for us to effectively implement this program in the schools. And budget, this is again another important tool that was needed. For the budget, it was not only for the council to have the budget, but also for the schools to have budget in order for them to implement the activities in school. And the head of schools and school management, it was very important that we tried to target the head of the school and the school management in order for us to get the commitment and the cooperation of the whole school. And the action plan, the schools had to prepare and submit the action plan so that council can carry out the monitoring as per the action plan. Environment monitors and prefects, schools elected environment prefects and monitors who took up the responsibility in trying to assist the school in trying to monitor the activities that were carried out in school. And regular monitoring, council carried out regular monitoring to all the schools, and regular advice were also given during monitoring. The basic system in place, waste segregation and collection. Since we were promoting segregation of waste at classroom level, we had to organize for separate bins at classroom as well. And the space, of course, the space for composting activities, the storage area for the recyclables, and the collection services to be provided by the council for collection of recyclables. And these are some of the activities that we carried out in 3 components. So the first one is showing some good examples and practices from our schools in Nandi for environmental awareness raising. So in this division, we mainly try to focus on reduce activities. Next slide. And as you can see, some of the examples I've shown here, most of the highest amount of waste that is generated in schools is mainly paper and disposable wrappers. So in order to target that, we try to reduce the amount of lunch wrappers generated from the school. We try to introduce the use of lunch boxes and also reuse of reusable cups and plates in the canteens. Next slide. These are some more examples. Next slide. Cleanup campaigns. The council works with schools and other various stakeholders to conduct cleanup activities around the town, including the public beaches. Next slide. School composting. This is the second component, and here we are again trying to focus on separation of organic waste at classroom level. So we are trying to encourage the schools to have a separate bin in each classroom. So from the classroom, the bins goes into their compost yard. Next slide. And then we also carry out regular monitorings for the compost bins as well. Next slide. And the compost manure that the schools get is utilized in their school gardens. Next slide. And most of the schools have also tried to carry out trial experiments with the use of compost and without the use of compost manure. And introducing recycling in schools. Identify the type of waste discharged in the schools. So there are different types of waste that were generated. Paper, plastic, PET bottles, and there were other different types of waste generated. So the schools, they had to determine the suitable items that could be separated and recycled. And accordingly, they had to prepare separate bins in the classroom and raise awareness. and of course locate a storage area for recyclable waste and conduct regular monitoring. So this is how waste separation is done at classrooms. They have separate bins for separate types of waste, recyclable waste that is generated. So initially the schools, they tried to, due to budget constraints, they tried to use reuse cartons, and gradually you can see there's the other picture that shows the 3 different colored bins. The schools gradually moved to using of different colored bins. And again, there's use of incinerator. Before, schools were burning using incinerators. So after this program, they have completely stopped burning using incinerators. Slide. And we have we run this program as a competition. So the competition is more like to motivate, help motivate the schools to be part of this program. And then at the end of the year, the schools, the winning schools are awarded with prizes and certificates during a special award ceremony. Some of the challenges, initially when we tried to introduce this program, we could see that there were lack of interest from the teachers, and there was lack of commitment and cooperation from the whole school. So that's why we tried to target the heads of the school, and together with Ministry of Education, we tried to solve this issue, and we tried to engage and commit the whole school to be part of the program. Changing the mindset of students and teachers. Again, when we started this program, it was very difficult for us to change the mindset of the students and teachers. However, upon regular monitoring, upon regular education and awareness, the students and the teachers were able to change their mindset, and they were able to grasp the concept of 3R in their schools. And again, they were able to make various changes accordingly. Sustainability. Most of the schools we have seen were unable to sustain the activities initially. However, upon regular monitoring, upon regular advice, schools implemented activities that were sustainable. Slide. Results and lessons learned. It is vital to work closely and in cooperation with all the relevant organizations and authorities. And as I said, continuous awareness, trainings, workshops, monitoring and advice is also very important. And we have to implement some incentives to motivate and encourage schools to be part of this program. Next slide. Sustainability. With the support and cooperation from relevant organizations, this program is now disseminated to all the town and city councils in Fiji. And the success stories and good practices of the Nadi schools is being disseminated and shared with the Pacific Island countries like Kiribati, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Marshall, and other islands in the Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you, Nafisa, for that. I'll just stop sharing. Okay, thank you very much. So that was, as I said at the beginning, is a very exciting presentation on the Clean Schools program, and highly relevant to every country, because as you know, if you want to get this waste management equation right, training from doing in the schools, where the schools is where we have to start. So it clearly demonstrates a project which will be very useful for us. So thank you, Nafisa, for that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil.
So now I'm mindful of the time. We have a very short time left. I'm just trying to see whether I can entertain a couple of questions from the audience. Trying to see whether there's anything written here. I can't see anything in the chat box. But if anyone wants to ask a quick question, please feel to do so. Yes, Narayan. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can talk and ask. Yeah, go ahead. You're on mute. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Very good morning, sir. Very good morning. I'm very happy to join this conference, particularly on solid waste management. I think really it's very interesting what now Nafisa, what she has presented, the work. This is what it is very urgently required in school level programs, because where we can create a lot of awareness to the students, as well as if we follow the school, particularly the collection, segregation and management, particularly until the recycling of solid waste, as well as composting, And also the same compost can be utilized for what is called as growing vegetables and some of the greenery. I think this is what is called as very much important, which we have to encourage the local area, school level as well as college level, and particularly students, so that that is very, very important nowadays. In addition to that, what I would like to suggest that we have to concentrate on the agricultural waste, the local agricultural waste which is produced in the surrounding environment, particularly in the local area. So what best we can go to utilize the solid waste, particularly agricultural solid waste, for making use of recycling of agricultural waste, even for converting into the economic value added products. So for example, in our area, I think we are using the Areca sheets. Areca sheet we are converted into bioplates. So therefore this bioplate is one of the alternative to the plastic cups, plastic plates. So even also in the agricultural waste, it can also be utilized for what is called as alternative to the plastic materials. So now this is one of the topmost exporting quality materials, particularly for supplying of the cups as well as the bioplates. So this is what is called as, which we have to find out the resources where in the local area such type of the waste materials, bio waste materials can be converted into new value added products, and instead of wasting the materials can be utilized as a value added products, and that can be reused, and that is called as maybe we can think of in a zero waste management in each and every aspect. So that is my suggestion, and I would like to what I observe in our area. I think agricultural waste management is very, very important in addition to household waste as well as municipal waste or city waste concern.
Thank you, Narayan. Thank you, Narayan, for that one. That's a very, very valid point, because where the agriculture sector is very active, I think this is a good opportunity to educate, use this education of schools to develop projects.
Narayan, you are from which place?
Yes, sir.
You are from which location?
I am from Karnataka, India, sir. I am working as a professor in the university, Department of Environmental Science.
I see.
Kuvempu University.
Mm-hmm. But Kerala is doing very good within India.
Karnataka.
Kerala
Yeah.
and the South India part, they're doing very well in waste management.
Yes. Actually, I have carried out two projects, that is on vermicomposting as well as agricultural waste management, particularly whatever the Areca sheet waste can be converted into the bioplates. Sir, I have given training to the SHGs, self-help groups. I think women self-help groups. That is one of the entrepreneurs.
These are the issues, but the problem in small island countries are little different than India or this type of country, because they have a lot of other issues. So over Sunil was saying something.
No, that's fine. So we are, I think we are running ahead of, late at the moment. So we got about another, can we take about another 5 minutes?
Sure.
We
can extend for 5-10 minutes. No problem.
We can entertain one more question, very quick question from the audience. Dr. Singh, you want to ask a question? No.
I have some question, but let others make it, and then I'll come back. Anybody else? Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
As a whole, you know that in other countries like India, Bangladesh, maybe in Australia also, we are very much focused on two types of waste management. One is formal sector, other is informal sector. And in informal sector we term as which doesn't have much support from the government, which is very much individually driven. In respect of the small island countries, what is the impact on the society for this informal sector of waste management, or at all, it is very much in those small island countries? Or I know that there are countries who are supported by different other countries which are very rich, like say Maldives. They are given a lot of support from US, India, and others. So in that way, most of the small island countries are supported by other countries who have a lot of land and fund and other things. But apart from that, for the local people, I want to know that what is the impact on the society with respect to the informal sector of waste management is concerned. This is a discussion for everybody from small island. Please.
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a relevant question. So we'll let one of the speakers to respond. Mayu, you are there. You got a lot of experience with JICA, projects. You want to respond? Or Wendy, Nafisa, any thoughts?
Yes, Dr. Sunil. So
yeah,
this pandemic has actually changed the mindset of our people, and our people have now moved a lot into agricultural sector after this pandemic, and we can see a huge impact after. On the rest. On the people in terms of agriculture after this pandemic.
Yeah.
They've started with backyard gardening, more have started into farming.
Yeah, I think Dr. Ghosh, one of the things here is that if you take the Pacific, the formal sector is non-existent to a certain extent. So there's the waste management activities is mainly done by the informal sector, but that informal sector is different to other countries. Because this is more like community-based waste management activities, small-scale companies. So there are, I would say, companies which are in between semi-informal and semi-informal or semi-formal.
Semi-formal or semi-informal.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a very good situation. So you'd not have, for example, if I'm right here, like if you take waste dumps, you don't get a lot of waste pickers in waste dumps in the Pacific Islands, but there'll be a lot of other activities happening in the recycling area. So
and Sunil, on the other hand, in this what we term as semi, there are a lot of employment generation in that particular sector. So,
yeah, correct. Yeah.
And they're taking extract of most of the valuable waste by this sector. That's why maybe there are lesser number of waste picker in the waste dump side.
Correct. Yeah. All right. So so if there are no other questions, I will just summarize the session. I apologize. We had some technical issues right at the beginning, which I think it's we've managed to somehow had a good
But
session.
you know that if you are interested to join next 2 days for Hall 3, Hall 4, please look into your email in the morning if there are any changes in the link. So because it is very unstable. So in that way, this is our request. So in the morning, before you enter into the hall, please look into your email. If any email is there, you find that the link and then join it. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so just closing up, I think I'll have to give my our appreciation for all the speakers, especially Ms. Mayu, who from JICA, who mentioned the detailed description about the container deposit scheme. I think if you had more time, you would have explained many other projects as well, because I know JICA is heavily involved in all the Pacific countries. So that was quite a useful presentation from you, telling us about the issues and challenges and the experiences of CDS in the region. Then we had the presentation from FSM, Patty, who mentioned about the issues and challenges, the typical scenarios in an island. It was quite a demonstration of the technical as well as the non-technical aspects. of waste management in that particular country. And then we had a presentation from Wendy, who spoke about very similar things and demonstrated the issues and unique challenges of waste management in the island nations, this time referring to Solomon Islands, which was very similar to the challenges and issues we discussed before. And then we had the last presentation from Nafisa, and which highly emphasized the importance of Clean Schools program. And it's a very important concept, because I already mentioned in the seminar the importance of champions, creating champions. So encouraging school kids to become small champions is very important in this journey. And also we had two other presentations. Unfortunately, they could not present. One from Papua New Guinea and another one from Tuvalu, because of the internet issues. Because if you are familiar with the Pacific Islands, you know that the internet can get very weak when you get into out islands. So so we had to appreciate the effort they are put into the presentation, but unfortunately could not present. So that's a summary, and I'm very excited to chair this session, because I have a special interest in the Pacific Island region, the small island nations, and hopefully we all got an insight into these special scenarios we are in the waste management area. So Professor Ghosh, you want to a few words to close up as well? Jon, I'm out.
Yeah, that's great that ultimately we could manage to hold this session. As Sunil told, that there are always some challenge in network issue and others, but however, I'm very pleased to receive most of the speakers from different small island countries, including JICA, organization Nomura, for making a very effective presentation for this conference. And there are a lot of learning processes in this session I have observed, and we can differentiate, people can differentiate the ways by which waste management is carried out in small island countries and other countries. We have to always support with technology, with policy instrumentation, guideline, and others to these small island countries. Because why I am interested to discuss on the small island countries, because the marine environment, or rather marine littering, is very much associated with the small island countries, because they are very small in size. So there may be always some aspect that whenever there are waste, the ocean, wherever you look into, you have ocean, and that is the easiest place, and that is the place where one can throw it very easily. On the other hand, I have seen some of my friends are there in small island countries. They are rich in awareness that what are the impacts of marine island for this type of marine littering for this type of countries. So they are very much conscious, as well as they are very much concerned about this. So we must look into this aspect very carefully. And I thank to all the speakers as well as the participants who contributed so much in this session. And as I have observed, that it was a very rich session, though the number of participants are around 24-25 here. So I wish that we can make more contribution from this type of these islands in near future. And I and Sunil has some plan with respect to the activities with all the small island countries that we will communicate to you later. But once again, I thank all of you for your participation and your feedback. And I must congratulate Sunil Herard, because the session's effectiveness, he is the main responsible person. And if any praise is given, that should go to Professor Sunil Herard of Australia.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good luck, everyone, and nice meeting you all.
And
Thank you.
just the last
Okay.
point, please
Yeah.
make your camera on so that my secretariat can make a photo.
Photo. Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see some other person. I can see some other persons who are not with the camera. Please put on your camera. Yeah, secretariat can take a photo. Mm-hmm. Oh,
Wendy's not on.
okay. Mhm. Thank you very much. So we wish that you all will join in the next session. The platform will be open. We are not closing it. Again, there may be a problem in the link. So thank you very much. See you again in the next session. And you all are invited
Okay.
for all.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. Good
Bye.
to see you.
Thank you very much.